But let's do some analysis on this. Professor Divine Haji is head of the Center for Settlement Studies and Faculty of Built Environment at the KNUST. He's been involved in communicating in flood risk management and has done a lot of research into that area over a period of time. We'll also be joined by the Deputy National NADMO Director, Abu Ramadan. He's actually on the stream now. Thank you very much. And Felicity Afianyo is also with the Meteorological Agency. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me start with you, Professor Haji. First of all, your reaction to this rather sad news that is coming in this morning. One person dead. He is believed to have been electrocuted during the downpour.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers. Yeah, it's really a sad story, and we can only wish our condolences to the family. And as you said, it has been a ritual affair. But what I want to point out is that we are getting to a situation where, as a country, we need to understand that flooding all over the world has become a global issue, and that whether we like it or not, we are moving into the stage where, in terms of flood philosophy, we have to learn to live with floods. And I think that is the direction where the concept of integrated flood risk management needs to be seriously considered. And I think this is where, as a country, we have not done much. And I hope that the discussion can bring a lot of issues from that perspective.
I'm wondering, when you say we have to learn to live with floods, we're learning to live with coronavirus already. We now have to learn to live with floods. How exactly?
Yeah, so what's happening is that if you look at the trend all over the world, so far as settlements are growing and we are having issues with infrastructure development, heavy paved areas, and all those issues. And once you have excessive rain and you have low-lying areas, the issue of flooding is going to occur. But all over the world, the trend has been how to manage the situation so that you try to reduce the fatalities. And as you look in the situation in terms of when it comes to flood management, we have got a structural approach and a non-structural approach. The structural approach is where you deal with engineering designs that we have always clamored for. And I just heard one gentleman talking about drains and government coming to build drains. But that alone does not solve the flooding situation, because when we say we want to live with flooding, we are now moving into the stage of community engagement and community participation in flooding, so that if you have realized in the literature now, the term that is being used is building resilient communities, so that when issues like this come, they can rather adapt and bounce back quickly and live on with their lives. And so, as I'm saying, that is the concept now, learning to live with flood, especially very flood-prone areas should begin to realize that apart from all the other things that they will do to try to mitigate and reduce the effects, they must also have to have social responsibility and learn to live with the flood. And that will depend on the community actually also coming on board when it comes to flood risk management, which is also an aspect that we have not done well in this country.
Prof, hold it there for me. You talk about community engagement and that the engineering bit necessarily may not be the solution. I want to bring in the Deputy National Director of NADMO, Abu Ramadan. Mr. Ramadan, thank you for your time, your news desk. In the last interview granted Evans Mensah on Newsnight, you did indicate that NADMO as an organization would want to focus more on being proactive and taking measures that will not bring us to where we are today. What did you do in the lead up to this day? I mean, we are in the rainy season. The rains are here. What have you been doing? Hello, Mr. Ramadan. Hello, Mr. Ramadan, if you can hear me. Well, we seem not to have his attention. We'll try and correct that and hear from Mr. Ramadan shortly. But Felicity is also on with the Ghana Meteorological Agency. You are saying that we should expect some more rains. Tell us about the volumes of rains we should expect and what we should be doing, the caution that you would give to us.
Thank you very much, and good morning to our listeners and viewers. For the season, we are saying that those of us along the coast, we are likely to get rainfall, the accumulated rainfall for the period to be more than 300 millimeters. Then, if we have a storm that strikes like what we had today, some areas it started last night, is going to be slightly above 20 millimeters. Some areas will get 50 millimeters, where the actual center, the core of the rainstorm will pass, they are likely to get above 50 millimeters. So for this week, June, the second week of June, we are anticipating that the week is going to be active in terms of rainstorms that will be moving over the country.
And so this is across the country, not just in the capital, Accra?
No. Well, currently we have the storm stretching from the north down to the coastal belt. Okay. The active spot is over the middle, the transition, and part of the northern sector.
And so what is likely to be the effect of these rains and the volumes that you talk about? Are we likely to see more areas being flooded? And what will be the caution for residents of low-lying areas and motorists, for instance? What should we be doing?
Yes, the rains have started and the ground is gradually being saturated. So any rain that will come, as we witnessed already in Accra, will result into floods because we'll have runoff waters that may not have the chance to percolate into the ground. And then we'll be having the flash floods, we'll be having thunder sounds and lightning, and then we'll be having a moderate or strong winds that will be coming out of these storms that will be moving across the country.
Some have said that you always have the general public usually have issues with you as far as communication is concerned with your forecast. What news measures are you adopting to make sure that indeed the ordinary Ghanaian is cautioned within time or ahead of time and understands exactly what you communicate?
Yes, over the years, we have a lot of challenges, but I think as the year progresses, we are improving gradually. Currently, we have a lot of social media handles. We have the Twitter, we have the Facebook, we have YouTube, and then we have the WhatsApp pages that we put this information in. And then now we've even upgraded in our forecast, the frequency. A day we issue 3 times forecast, and then in a week we update 3 times. So we give you the whole week, and then we give you the midweek, and then we give you the weekend. For the day, we give you the morning, we give you the afternoon, and we give you the evening. So every time you know the state of the sky over you. But the challenge that we are having is that we as humans, we wait to see the thing before we go looking for information. We have the information there, but then we don't watch it. If not the rain, I believe JoyNews will not be calling us this time to talk about the storm. But we always put the information there. But the media too, you only come in when the need arises. But when the sun is shining, you don't take the information and give it to your listeners or to your viewers. And at the end of the day, they'll come and be blaming us that we will wait when the crowds gathers before we bring the information. But meanwhile, it's not like that. When you come to GMET, we've been running 24/7. We have, when some people are asleep, we have staff that are working in the night, in the bush, going in to get data. Now you have the forecasters that also pick this data, analyze it, pick the model chart, scientific chart, analyze it, compare it to come out with a forecast for Ghana. And at the end of the day, the forecasts are all lying on our WhatsApp pages, lying on our website, lying on our social media handles. When the rain comes, then yes, everybody's interested in the forecast.
Madam Ahionyo, I'll come to you before we end this conversation to give us your social media handles and the WhatsApp lines that you talk about so that we can relay that information to our audience, and then it will be much easier, I guess, to communicate going forward. But I want to go into the phone lines now and speak to the Deputy National NADMO Coordinator, Abu Ramadan. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Newsdesk. We have Professor Aji from the KNUST on the line, and he talked about community engagement as a key strategy in dealing with floods because it's become a global issue that we need to deal with. Mr. Ramadan, as far as community engagement is concerned, what have you done as NADMO, seeing that you want to be more proactive?
Various communities, particularly in the hot zones, where we find as hot zones in terms of the perennial flooding each and every year. And our zonal and district offices have been engaging in those communities. We've also been collaborating with the Ministry of Works and Housing to undertake some desilting exercises. And we've been carrying out a lot of sensitization since the rains ended last year. And it's a continuous process that we've not stopped till now.
So where exactly have you been desilting?
Oh, you know, the Ministry of Works and Housing has been desilting some major drains in Accra and across the country, as the Minister of Works and Housing that they announced. And they in some areas, particularly in the dredging. And you see, most importantly, you won't see a drain dredge this year and dredge next year again at the same time. Because when it is done that way, the impact of the rains will be felt heavier. So sometimes you must allow for vegetation to even grow along the banks of the river to hold the sand from being washed back into it. But I can tell you for sure that some drains in Accra have been dredged, and that is the reason why the first 2-3 rains that hit this year, not the first heavy rain downpour we've had. This, I think, the third or fourth one. This rainy season, and the first two, the impact was felt minimal. It's not been as huge as this.
The Metro Agency is warning that we'll have more rains. How prepared is NADMO for the situation?
Oh, we are fully prepared. As I'm talking to you, our men are still on the field, and you see, most importantly, we need to make this point. Most importantly, when it comes to these sort of rains, most of the areas are area flooding. We need not to put ourselves in a panic mood. It's mostly area flooding, and we don't need to put ourselves in a panic mood, because when the rains come, within a matter of 10, 15, 20 minutes, maximum 30 minutes after the rains subside, you realize all the water runs out and the place dries out. The problem areas itself are the exit points, where the water exits into the sea. The Circle area, the Odona area, those are the heavy places that we send concentration. And for that matter, as we did last year, this year we are deploying pre-positioning our men in those specific areas around the Achimota, Bofu, Akwiteman, Domi, Paraku Estate, Abelepe area. That is one section. Circle Odona, that is the Odor River, Alajo industrial area, Ever Park area, are all one zone 2 as well. Now we are zoning La Paz, Awoshi, Santa Maria, Tabora, Lincoln area, Nya Market, Kwashibu, Malam Junction, Ablekuma, and Dansoman as another zone 2 as well, where we are going to pre-position our men. Should the rains start, we would have our men on the field already. And with the support of the 48th Engineers Regiment, close collaboration between us and the 48th Engineers Regiment, be ready to deploy and respond when they need be.
And just 30 seconds on this one, on the issue of the Odona, as we have it now. Have you moved in already? What help are you giving to the people?
Oh, our men have been there from I think 4 a.m. 2:30 from 2:30 when the rain started itself, but the men are still there. We're waiting, and you see, most importantly, in situations like this, in the heat of it, there's very little we can do, because there must be proper assessment of the impact, the number of people affected, because we just can't release items from our warehouses and say just because it's rained, move in. We need to have a proper report as to how many people have been affected, how many homes have been affected, what sort of structures have been affected, and for that matter, that will inform us as to meeting the international required standard procedure for issuance of relief items to people that have been affected. So our men are still on the field. We're hoping in the next 2-3 hours, when the rain doesn't come again and the water levels go down, we'll have our first SWAT report from our men on the field.
Mr. Ramadan, I want to thank you for your time. As you monitor this, we'll get back to to you for some more update on the situation. And a quick one as we wrap up, Professor Haji, the situation about the person being electrocuted. We have a situation where every time it rains, the electricity company of Ghana would have to put off the connection or power just to safeguard residents, especially living in such slum areas. What should be done going forward to make these areas more safer? Quickly. Hello, Professor Haji. Are you there? All right, we lost Professor Haji there, but that's it for our coverage of the flooding situation in Accra as we speak. We'll bring you more on this in our subsequent bulletins, but this is your election headquarters. Now, the Electoral Commission has urged the Supreme Court to back its decision to exclude the current voter's ID as proof of identification for prospective voters. This is contained in its June 8 response to the Apex Court following a petition by the opposition NDC. The EC argues that the existing voter's ID card was acquired by some Ghanaians in a manner that breached various laws. The Supreme Court on June 4 gave the EC up to June 8 to justify its stance. The credibility of the Ghana's voters register was a thorny issue prior to the 2016 election. The then opposition alleged that the register was bloated, insisting it cannot be a credible document showing Ghanaians of the voting age. The Supreme Court, in the case of Abu Ramadan and another versus the Electoral Commission in 2016, held that it was wrong for persons to use the National Health Insurance cards to get onto the electoral roll. We've been joined by lawyer Bernard Oredu for some legal education on this. Mr. Oredu, thank you very much for joining us on Newsdesk. We have the EC saying that the Supreme Court should essentially give it some time to deal with this issue. Your reaction first to the EC's response to the court.
Well, good morning to your viewers, and I'll say that I wasn't too surprised with the response the EC submitted to the court. I mean, if you looked at the reasons they gave, those are the reasons we were expecting to give, and I wasn't too surprised at all.
So you're looking at the issue of the voter's ID card. Now, the bit about the National Health Insurance, I mean, people who registered with the NHI card still being on the roll. Are you surprised that despite the court's directive to the commission in 2016, we still have a good number of people, according to the EC itself, still on the roll?
Well, I'm not too surprised because it was going to be very daunting. I mean, looking at the sheer numbers of the people who had registered with the NHIS card, it was going to be a daunting task. So I'm not too surprised that as of now, as of today, the EC has not been able to do that. But you talked about the reasons the EC gave to the court, and I'd want to probably put them probably under three headings, and for our viewers to really get the understanding of the EC's reasoning to the Supreme Court.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, first and foremost, you realize that it is both substantive law, procedural law, and evidence. They make the point that if you look at the provisions of Article 42 and 46, they are the body mandated to conduct elections, and therefore they are the body responsible for collating voter register for any election or referendum in the country. If you also look at the procedure, if you look at Article 11.7 of our Constitution, they follow the processes and have laid the necessary CI before Parliament. Then they also make the argument of the evidence. That is where you come in with the fact that CI12, the voter registers acquired under CI12, CI72, 91 are all defective. And therefore, with all those defective voter register, it won't be proper to have them used as a base for this new voter register. So basically, the reasons the EC gave to the Supreme Court is in three parts. One, substantive law. They're arguing that a law, they have the right and the mandate to do so. Two, procedural law. They're saying that they have gone through the requirement under Article 11.7. And two, evidence-based, adducing the evidence that all the voter register we have acquired over the years have been defective.
The arguments that EC puts out there. Going forward, what do you expect of the Commission, even as it prepares to register people for the new ID?
You see, I think we need to tackle this issue once and for all. The lawyers will tell you, in law, there's a concept we call that no right is absolute. So even if you have a right under Article 42 as a Ghanaian, that upon the attainment of age 18, once you have sound mind, you can register and you're entitled to be registered as a voter. There's a corresponding duty on you to have yourself registered. So the issue as to who qualifies, the eligibility, who is that particular Ghanaian anticipated under Article 42 who can acquire a voter register and vote. We need to clear that once and for all. We need to have a definite pronouncement on it. What would entitle somebody to say that I'm 18 and I can register? Who is a Ghanaian under Article 42 when it comes to voting rights? And I think that if not for probably political expediency, this would have been the best time for all of us as Ghanaians to have this matter settled once and for all as to the eligibility of or credibility of who can be expected to vote, so that we have a voter register which would be, I wouldn't say that it will be sacrosanct, but at least to a very large extent would be proper and fit for the purpose of voting in Ghana. So I am thinking that we should take this opportunity to give a definitive definition as to who is a Ghanaian and Article 42, who is entitled to vote.
Lawyer Oredu, I want to thank you for your time here on Newsdesk, for bringing us some analysis on this issue. We'll be hearing from the NDC in our subsequent bulletins because they indeed dragged the EC to court. We'll be hearing what they make of the response.
And they are supposed to do that by Thursday. By tomorrow, and the court will have pronouncement by Thursday. So we are all awaiting the response from the NDC as well. We are going to subject it to legal analysis and see, because we have seen that the EC has submitted its reasonings and they make legal sense. We await the reasoning that the NDC may bring up to oppose the reasoning of the EC, and we all subject it to legal discussions.
Let's do some other stories now away from politics.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Telecom analyst Fuad Chalabi has warned moves to create a level playing field in the telecom sector may rather stifle competition. The National Communications Authority has indicated it would enforce the provisions of the Electronic Communications Act 2008 and the National Telecommunications Policy to address what it says are glaring disparities in market share and revenue share in the sector. But Mr. Chalabi cautions it may rather hurt the market.
This market structure, the new market structure, is based on the open market, because there is so many operators and there was no monopoly. So based on the competition, this is how the market structure, or we can say that the market has led MTN to be the leader for so many reasons. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that this is due to the investment done by MTN and so many value-added services that is presenting and the quality of service that is done by them. So it is when you have so many operators in the market, and even in a previous period there was a complaint is that the number of operators is too many. There has been a merger between Airtel and Tigo. Vodafone is in the market, and all players who are in the market are international players. But it's about taking opportunity. The 4G license, for example, has been in the market for a while, but it was MTN who grabbed the opportunity and started the 4G. And definitely this has led to an increase in the market share. In addition to the mobile money, they were the leading party in the mobile money. So as well, this is added to their market share. So they were doing something wrong, right. They weren't doing something wrong. So if you are doing the right thing, you should be rather compensated, and you're investing, you should rather be compensated.
Now, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Nana Appiagyei Dankwa the first has directed businesses to make all the hard decisions to stay afloat, even if it means firing workers. He has been speaking to my colleague Charles Aite amid the impact of COVID-19.
Already, government has injected a 1 million cedi stimulus package for SMEs to stay afloat in these times. I sat with the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who says now is the time for business leaders to take pragmatic decisions, even if it means downsizing.
Business leaders and businesses as a whole, executives have to take very, very concise and pragmatic decisions at this particular time. We must look at lean and mean policies that have to be put in place. Downsizing is another thing that has to be considered, because you are looking at your fixed costs, your variable costs, and your total costs.
The coronavirus has exposed Ghana's overdependence on the West for raw materials, goods and services. This has had a toll on manufacturing and pharmaceutical firms. Nana Dankawosi III suggests this could affect businesses who fail to adapt.
In the short term, how do we change? So we need to diversify the economy, and we need to. If we diversify the economy, it means that there are other areas that have to be affected for now, and that is what we have to do. If you look at ICT, for example, for now, it is the order of the day. Even though the pace that we are going was slow, but now it has become an innovative way of reaching our customers and our business links, so that we can get the best for ourselves.
Businesses operating in 9 selected sectors of the economy are the ones to benefit from the 600 million cedi stimulus package meant to cushion micro, small and medium enterprises from the negative impacts of COVID-19. The beneficiary sectors are healthcare and pharmaceutical, manufacturing, agri and agribusiness, water and sanitation, tourism and hospitality, education, textiles, among others.
And that's all in business. Sports is up next.